addictions, poverty, and even sexual abuse by your loved ones. Welcome, Amy Cabo and The Cure.
Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us today. This is The Cure, and I'm your host, Amy Cabo. You are listening to us on 880 AM The Biz. And don't forget, you can listen online or download the app at 880thebiz.com. Again, that's 880 AM The Biz. We are live every Friday at 2 p.m. and our callback number is 305-541-2350. Again, that's 305-541-2350. Make sure to stay tuned later on in the show as we will be opening up the lines for callers. You can call in with questions or if you'd like to share your personal stories. And I'd like to let you guys know that I'm very excited today because we are joined by Dr. Boris Nikolov, who I have to share a little story with you guys. Those of you who have read my book know that my full name is Amy Cabo Nikolov. Nikolov being my married name, therefore Dr. Boris Nikolov is my husband of 18 years. The love of my life, whom I call my saint. Yes.
Hi.
Hi, Dr. Boris Nikolov.
Hello, Amy. Thank you for having me.
It's so glad to have you join us. And just to give you guys a little bit of a background, my husband and I, we do everything together. We've lived together for 18 years, we've worked together for 18 years, and now I guess we're doing this show together. But I wanted to talk to you guys today I wanted to discuss the effects of trauma, common symptoms, and some methods of recovery. Our show deals with trauma, abuse, mental illness, common misconceptions, treatment, and healing options. And what I wanted to do was to provide a platform where we can be there for one another. We can help one another, share our stories. It can be very therapeutic. I have to admit that when somebody has suffered trauma and they're going through a difficult time, one of the processes in recovery is to be able to accept what's happened, to be able to write it down. And that in itself can be difficult because society teaches us to believe that trauma is a very difficult thing. It's a very hard thing. It's something that can make us broken. And that's how sometimes people can judge us. But it's not necessarily so. We don't have to be a textbook case. We can defy the odds. We can rise above. And one thing that's even more difficult is talking about it. I have to admit, it wasn't easy for me to write my book. I'm a very private person. There's nobody more private than I am. In that my husband was the only one that knew anything that happened to me, knew the fact that I was abused in every way from the time that I was 7 to the time that I was 15, knew my whole life story, but none of my friends did, not even my psychiatrist. I went to her for the medication, for the prescription, but I wouldn't say much. I simply had conversation. I believed it was something difficult to talk about. But see, you guys, I'm trying this. I'm doing this experiment. I'm trying to see if I can get myself to the point that I can talk about it as if it's no big deal, because it's not my fault. It's not something that I did. It was something that was done to me. So I should be able to speak about it like if it was a car accident or something like that, because it's no longer a shameful secret, but a vehicle to help one another. And by providing this platform, people will be able to call in as anonymous and provide their success stories. Because remember, all victims become survivors. And the fact that they're a survivor in itself, the fact that they're alive, is a success story. And we all have a success story to share with one another. There's things that we can learn from one another. and we can encourage one another by seeing how we can each success by believing in a greater being, in a greater purpose, by knowing that nothing should just break us down. That's not our purpose. If anything, if we've been through hard times, that makes us even more informed. It makes us even more mature. It makes us even more aware. It makes us even more prepared, and we can help others. Also, I just wanted to let you guys know that no matter what you go through, and no matter what is going in your life, there'll be good days, there'll be bad days, and some of us can struggle all day long between highs and lows, feeling bad for no reason. I understand that. But there's also very happy moments. There's moments to celebrate. There's moments that you're so grateful that you're alive. And I promise you, if you're grateful, you live your life happier. You really do. What do you think? I mean, what do you think, Boris? How has it been? Explain to them a little bit about the difficulty since you married me, how difficult it's been for you, how much you've learned, and what you've gotten from this.
Okay. Well, it is. I understand that there are times that, yes, you don't feel well, and then I learned to leave your space. But then you have good moments, and then we learn how to enjoy them more. Everything is a struggle, so sometimes you need to just learn to live with the hard times, knowing that there is going to be good times.
Yes, I've learned that there are ways that one can help themselves. Like, I listen to music. That's very helpful for me. Because there are
Nice.
times that I can feel bad, and those are the times that I need to help myself. I go on Facebook. There's a site that I go on Facebook that is for chronic PTS survivors, child survivors from domestic violence or child abuse. It's called Adult C, I guess for chronic, PTSD survivors of childhood abuse and domestic violence. And this is a support group where people write to anonymously on Facebook, and they ask questions or they share the things that they know. And for example, I learned something about myself. I thought maybe I had a character flaw, or maybe sometimes I was rude. But this is what I discovered, and I'll read it to you. Someone wrote, "So I just found out something I find interesting because my PTSD from long-term childhood trauma, I have many of the diagnostic indicators of autism. For instance, my reactions to social cues are either muted or overly reactive, meaning sometimes I don't seem to respond, and sometimes I really react strongly to mild cues. That's just one of the many ways I react like someone with autism. My husband has Asperger's, so I was looking up info about it and kept going. I do that, but it's because X, Y, and Z, or I used to do that because it's made life bearable. So then I looked at the difference between the two diagnoses. I honestly think the most obvious difference between C, PTSD, and autism is the cause."
Well, yeah,
So-
there's a lot of symptoms that can be similar in different conditions.
So because victims tend to be hard on themselves, I learned that this was not a character flaw, but a symptom. And symptoms have remedies. Symptoms could be taken care of. There's medications for symptoms. There's always God.
Or behavioral therapy.
Well, yes, that's why people go to therapy and that's why people go to psychiatrists. But not everybody can. Not everybody can afford it. Sometimes people can find help with one another by calling, by having support groups, by, going on support groups on Facebook and things like that. But the thing is that there's also people, we also have to take into account, there's people that don't have a support group, that don't have anybody, that don't know who to turn to. To those people, I tell them, turn to God. But
Yes.
how about the people that don't believe in God?
Well, there is a lot of free resources out there, especially if you're depressed or have turned to substance abuse. Maybe you can call one of the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration hotline, which is 1-800-662-HELP, 1-800-662-HELP, or you can call the National Hope Line Network. If you are feeling depressed and you want to end your life, they can help. 1-800-SUICIDE. Before you do something that cannot be returned or changed, call 1-800-SUICIDE. Or if you have, if you're a young kid or adolescent, you can call the National Youth Crisis Hotline, which is 1-800-448-4663. If you're a victim of sexual abuse, child abuse, depression, and you have suicidal thoughts, this hotline can help. 1-800-448-4663.
Well, that's important to know those things and to use your resources wisely, because I know I can only speak from experience how someone can struggle with PTSD when they go through depression, how sometimes they can feel so alone and so scared and so hopeless that they think of suicide, or they self-medicate with the drugs. Their self-esteem is low. And for a long time, I myself had to struggle until I learned to pray. I learned to turn to God. I learned to believe in something bigger than myself. I learned that it wasn't all about me, but about others. And I had to become the best person that I can be for others and for myself. And those things were important to me. But I have to tell you, being able to talk about these things and having wrote my life story has really helped me, because I am a private person. And if it wasn't for my love for helping others, I wouldn't be before this microwave every Friday, to tell you the truth.
Yes, I understand that this is very, very hard for you, but also it is very helpful for the tons of listeners or people that have suffered through sexual abuse, domestic violence, and don't know what to do or have lost hope.
Yeah, and also, even those who have lost hope, and even those, let's say, that don't believe in God, that just nothing seems to go their way, that they see no light of hope, I would advise those to just notice. If you take a moment to notice, everyone has many blessings, because God loves us all equally. The same way that parents love their children equally, and children love their parents equally. God gives us all blessings. Even the smallest things can be a blessing. For the depressed person, taking a shower is a blessing. So if you take a moment to notice, there is many blessings. And if you take a moment to appreciate them and become appreciative, you live happier being appreciated. And I just want to remind you guys that our call number is 305-541-2350. Again, that's 305-541-2350. This is your host, Amy Cabo, and this is The Cure.